When my mother declared, "If you're unhappy sharing a home with family, you're free to go," I'd already shelled out $11,400 covering expenses while they lived in my place, no rent paid, for 10 months. I handled meals, tidied up even, surrendered my study so my brother could have his space. When I pleaded for a moment's solitude, she snapped, "We're your kin. Start acting like it." That evening, I ended up sleeping in my car. At first light, I initiated a single transaction. She had no clue, but she'd just paved her own exit. "If you don't like living with family, you can leave," my mom had said, arms folded, as if her words carried sacred weight rather than a brush-off. I stood there, clutching a sack of groceries I'd lugged up 3 flights of stairs in a downpour. My jacket was drenched, my legs throbbed, and my phone vibrated with unanswered work emails piling up because I'd spent the day scrubbing the kitchen after my brother left it in chaos. And that was her reply, her version of settling things. No gratitude for the groceries. No apology for shouting when I'd asked for a sliver of privacy in the one room I still called mine. Just those words. "You're fortunate to have a place to live," she added, turning away like she'd just won. An argument. I was the one paying for that place. $11,400 over 10 months. That's what I'd covered. Rent, internet, utilities, groceries, streaming services, even the electric bill they forgot last winter. They stayed in my apartment. My name was on the lease. My credit was on the line. Yet, they called it our home, as if that meant I owed them everything. And the worst part? I allowed it. I gave up my study so my brother could game uninterrupted. I cooked dinner most nights. I swept the floors. I even paid for Mom's allergy pills when she said she felt off but didn't want to deal with insurance. I did it all, silently. Because that's what family does, isn't it? But when I asked for an hour alone, just 1 hour, behind a closed door without hearing social media clips blasting through the walls, she hit me with, "We're your kin. Act like it." That night I didn't sleep indoors. I didn't even step back inside. I slept in my car. My toes froze against the floorboard, and the back seat pressed into my back like a steel cage. I lay there, wrapped in an old blanket, staring at the roof, wondering how I'd become the bad guy in my own home. At dawn, I climbed out, walked to a 24-hour convenience store, and bought a coffee with the last $5 in my digital wallet. Then I made a single bank transfer. It was subtle. A few clicks, one verification code. She didn't know it yet, but she'd just signed her own departure. They moved in 10 months ago. Just for a bit. That's what Mom promised, in that soft, guilt-laced tone she used when she wanted something. Just until your dad's operation is sorted. Just until your brother wraps up his term. I agreed. Foolishly, I agreed. The lease was mine. I had the main bedroom. I'd worked 5 years in finance to earn this place, and it finally felt like mine. I had a study with a view, a bed that didn't sag, a kitchen with sharp knives, but within weeks of their arrival, the apartment stopped being mine. Dad claimed the armchair, permanently, left the living room steeped in his frustration. The TV never turned off. Mom took over the storage. Suddenly, my fridge was covered in spiritual stickers and notes on my food. "Don't touch Mom's yogurt." As if I was the visitor, my brother Jake took my study, literally. "Man, I need a spot to study," he said, already hauling in his gaming rig before I could respond. He was 23, taking online courses, failing half of them. I asked if he could keep it quiet after 10 p.m. because I had early meetings. His reply? "It's not just your place, dude. Relax." By month 3, I was cooking every dinner because they didn't like takeout. I was paying every bill because we're still waiting on Dad's disability payment. I was cleaning the bathroom I shared with a guy who thought soap just vanished, and somehow they acted like they were doing me a favor, like I should be thankful for their presence. Then came the first sting. It was a Wednesday. I was late for a virtual meeting, couldn't find my charger. Jake had borrowed it again, and when I knocked on my old study door to ask for it, he didn't even pause. His game. Dude, don't bang like that. You're messing up my team. I stood there, floored, in my own home, asking for my own charger. Mom poked her head out of the kitchen. Honey, let him focus. He's got a lot on his plate. I was the one with a lot on my plate. I was working 12-hour days to support 4 people, but no one noticed. Then came social media. One night, a photo popped up, shared by my aunt. A family cookout, my living room, my barbecue, Dad grinning with a drink, Jake, with his arm around a girl I didn't know. Mom's caption read, "Family is all that matters." Nothing about me. I wasn't in the picture. I was in my room, racing to meet a deadline, fixing someone else's financial report for the 4th time. No invitation, no heads up, no leftovers saved. The comments poured in. So glad you're all together again. Your boys are so grown up. What a lovely home. Mom replied to one, we're so lucky. It's ours, and it feels like paradise. Ours. That broke something in me, but not in them, because that's when they really started pushing. Jake began. Using my rideshare account, I only found out when I got a $92 charge for a 2 a.m. trip. He denied it, until I showed him the receipt with his drop-off location. Then he said, "You're making bank. You're really sweating small change?" I asked Mom about it. She sighed. You know how tough it is for him to ask for help. Just drop it. Then, Dad chimed in. You're getting selfish, he said. I didn't raise you to be like this. I didn't answer. I was too busy watching my savings dwindle like a slow bleed. Then came the worst blow. The family group chat. It started light. Jake sending memes, Mom posting fuzzy cat pics, Dad trying to crack jokes. Until one night, I saw it. A photo of me, passed out at my desk, snapped through the sliver of my door. Caption, check out this guy, works all day, and still can't afford to move out. A string of laughing emojis, a reply from my cousin. Looks like a sad desk drone. Someone even turned it into a meme. I stared at it. For 20 minutes, I didn't blink. I walked into the living room, phone in hand. Jake was chuckling at his screen. Mom was knitting. Dad had his feet propped up. I said, "Who took this?" "No," one answered. I repeated, "Who took the picture?" Jake shrugged. "Chill, man. It's just a joke." Dad didn't look up. "Don't be a baby. It's family." Then Mom, sipping her drink like it was fine wine. "You're too sensitive. Maybe if you rested more, you wouldn't look like that." That night, I reviewed the lease they never bothered to read, the lease in my name. And I realized something cold. Not only did they treat me like a doormat, they thought I wouldn't push back. The next day, I dug up my external drive. Inside, a folder I'd forgotten about from lockdown, screenshots, spreadsheets, audio clips, rent, receipts, recordings. Like the one from April, where Mom said, "Don't tell him we used the rent money for Jake's tablet. He'll overreact." I saved it all. Then I checked the shared Wi-Fi logs. Jake had been using my email to set up crypto accounts. I confronted him. He denied it, until I played a recording from a customer service call. His voice. My name. They'd crossed a line, but I didn't yell. Not yet. I just backed up the files, sent copies to a lawyer friend. One to my cloud. Another to a private email only I could access. And then I did something else. I contacted the landlord. I told him I'd be moving out at month's end. Not alone, but with the lease. They didn't know it yet, but Jake was about to lose his gaming den. Mom would lose her meditation corner. Dad would lose his armchair and his TV channels. And when they asked why, I'd show them the photo, the caption, and every emoji that came with it. The knock came at 7:18 a.m., too early for anyone in this house to be awake. I was ready, coffee in hand. I'd been waiting for this for 2 weeks. Jake stumbled out of my old study, hair wild, eyes bleary. Man, can you get that? I was up late. You'll want to be awake for this, I said. He blinked. What? Then came the second knock, louder. Behind it stood 3 people. Mr. Carter, my landlord, clipboard in hand, Officer Lopez, city badge, calm but stern. A woman in a gray suit, someone from the housing authority. Jake opened the door and nearly spilled his energy drink. Good morning, Mr. Carter said, no warmth in his voice. I'm here to inspect the property following a tenant complaint. Jake turned to me. Complaint? He asked, voice shaky. Yeah, I said, stepping forward. Someone reported illegal activity and tenant mistreatment under my name. I didn't waver, because I knew who filed it. 3 nights earlier, I got an email from the housing board, a report accusing me of overcrowding, harassment, and theft. Anonymous, naturally. But guess whose IP address matched the complaint? Jake's. I had the server trace printed and clipped in a folder. That folder was now in Mr. Carter's hands. Officer Lopez turned to me. You're the leaseholder? I nodded, pulling out my ID and lease copy. Yes, sir. Leaseholder. Utilities in my name. Rent paid on time every month. I've got bank records if you need them. He glanced at Jake. And these people reside here? How? Jake stammered. We're family. They're not on the lease, I interrupted. Not one of them. Carter flipped to the tenant page. Correct. Only one name here, yours. That's when the shouting began. Mom emerged from the bedroom, robe on, hair in rollers. What's happening? Why are strangers in my house? Your house? Carter said sharply. Ma'am, this unit is leased to your son. He's the only legal resident. You are, in fact, here without permission. She froze, stunned. But we're family. Officer Lopez pulled out a notepad. Ma'am, do you have any proof? Mail addressed here, lease amendment, anything? Dad stormed in next, shirtless, scowling like someone ruined his weekend plans. You can't just barge into our home. It's not your home, I said quietly. It's mine, or it was. Then I looked at Jake. I know you filed the complaint, I said. His face twisted. I didn't. I handed the printout to the housing rep. Trace data matched your device. Same time you borrowed my charger. Again. Officer Lopez skimmed it, nodded once, then turned to Carter. Well, this is straightforward. Mr. Carter closed his clipboard. They have 48 hours to pack and leave, or I file for eviction. And this visit goes on record either way. That's when it sank in. Jake went pale. Mom collapsed onto the sofa like her strength gave out. Dad's fists clenched. You're tearing your family apart, he growled. No, I said evenly. You tore it apart the night you mocked me in the group chat. The night you posted my face online like a punchline. The night you told me to leave if I didn't like it here. I stepped toward the door. Good news, I left. Then I held up a second folder. But not before collecting every bank record. Every message, every recording, like this one. I tapped my phone. Dad's voice crackled through. Let's just use him. He earns well. He owes us. Mom's voice followed. Don't tell him about the tablet. Or the crypto. He'll make a scene. Jake lunged, trying to snatch the phone. Officer Lopez stepped between us. I suggest you calm down, sir. And then, the final strike. Mr. Carter looked up. Since they're not listed, and since the lease ends next month, you've requested non-renewal? I nodded. He turned to the others. Which means none of you have a legal right to stay. After 48 hours, the locks will change. Jake whispered, You're bluffing. I opened my wallet, pulled out the locksmith receipt for Friday. Test me. They said nothing, so I walked to the door, hand on the handle, and paused just long enough to look back. You said I could leave. I opened the door. But you're the ones packing. Click. The door closed behind me, and I didn't turn back. The first transfer hit at 3:12 a.m., $3,000 from Mom. Note, for everything, hope it helps. I didn't smile. I didn't get mad. I took a screenshot, saved it in a new folder, and labeled it Debt Records. The second came at dawn. $600 from Jake. I didn't know it hurt you this much. The third? Silent. $2,000. No note. Just a number. Like everything Dad gave when words failed him. Total, $5,600 after $114,000 in bills, rent, groceries, internet, and damage control. This wasn't repayment. This was a plea to buy my forgiveness. 2 days earlier, I'd finalized a document, a 14-page breakdown titled 10 Months of Duty, 1 Invoice, clear, precise, cold, page by page. Rent, $65,000. Utilities, $8,200. Groceries, delivery, supplies, $2,600. Mom's prescriptions, $5,000. Jake's gadgets, rides, subscriptions, $6,400. Lost bonuses, sick days. Therapy for burnout, $18,800. Total, $114,000. Final line, repaid by family, $0. Below it, funds received post-eviction, $5,600, emotionally meaningless. I attached it to 3 emails. To Mom, via her old email. To Jake, via messaging app. To Dad, via his cloud inbox I still had access to. 3 minutes later, Mom called. I blocked her, then I got to work. Every account disconnected. Auto payments stopped. Streaming services erased. The shows she couldn't live without? Gone. The family phone plan Dad never paid for? Shut off. I opened a new savings account. Named it Emergency Fund Me Only. Changed passwords. Strengthened security. No more for convenience. No more just until next week. No more guilt-driven loopholes. I set my phone background to plain text on white. The last time I paid for peace, it cost $114,000. Never again. A few days later, Mom found a workaround. She messaged from her sister's account, like a kid sneaking around a block. We didn't mean to hurt you. Don't throw your family away. Jake feels awful. Your father's ashamed. You always wanted space. We didn't think you meant this. I didn't respond with words. I sent one file. Lease. Termination. Signed. PDF. Signed by the landlord. Stamped. Dated the day they were told to leave for good. At the bottom, I'd written, "This ends our legal, financial, and emotional ties. Goodbye." I hit send. No more messages came after that. Not from Jake. Not after I cut his access to my payment app, where he'd been sneaking game subscriptions for months. Yes, I knew. I waited. Then I blocked him with one tap. Before I deleted the thread, I forwarded all 3 transfers, those apology funds, to a youth housing charity, all $5,600. The donation note read, "Help someone start where I had to stop." Silence followed. But it wasn't the old kind, not the tense, bitter silence of a house too small for 4 egos and 1 income. This was mine. True silence. I drank coffee on my balcony, hearing only traffic and birds. No shouting through walls, no gaming yells, no footsteps hovering outside my door. My space, my lease, my lock, my end, my start. I opened my cloud storage, right-clicked the old folder with their photos, messages, bills, family archive, and hit Move to Trash. The pop-up asked, "Are you sure you want to delete this folder?" I didn't pause. I was already gone. They always called me the good one. Quiet, dependable, trustworthy. The one who replied to texts, paid bills, bought groceries, remembered anniversaries. The one who forgave over and over. I thought that made me strong. Turns out it made me useful. Useful isn't love. It took 10 months and $114,000 to learn that being needed isn't being valued. That loyalty without limits is servitude. That kindness, when demanded, becomes a chain. They never asked, "Are you okay?" They asked, "What else can you give?" And I gave. my money, my study, my peace, my silence. Until I didn't. People think breaking away is loud. But sometimes, the strongest break is quiet. Not a shout, not a slammed door, just a choice that doesn't look back. No viral post, no public call-out, no angry texts, just one transaction, one lease cancellation, one signed PDF, and then nothing. Not out of spite, but clarity. I kept replaying that night. The night I slept in my car because they made my home feel like a hostel I wasn't welcome in. Mom's voice ringing, "If you don't like living with family, you can leave." She didn't say it as advice. She said it as a challenge, so I took the challenge and answered with silence. Now I wake up and don't check my phone. I drink my coffee while it's warm. My shoes stay where I leave them. My groceries last the week. My name isn't their punchline anymore, because it's not on their lips, it's not in their CA. Chats. It's not theirs anymore. I thought helping was loving. They thought helping was owing. Maybe my biggest mistake wasn't the money. It was not saying no the first time they called me selfish, not walking away when they mocked me behind my back, not ending it when Jake used my payment app like his personal arcade. But survival teaches you to hold on too long, even to people who only call you family when you're paying. I'm done holding on. I'm not cold, I'm whole. I opened the last app with their names in it, the family group chat. Dad hadn't texted in weeks. Jake had left after the eviction. Mom was still there, still typing. I hovered over the chat. Clicked. Leave group. Confirm? Yes. The screen flickered. Then nothing. And it felt like peace. Not loud, not dramatic, just mine.